Hello and welcome to Raise the Room podcast. I'm your host, Danica. Here at Raise the Room, we are trying to consciously raise our kids, re-raise ourselves, and by doing so, raise the vibe of any room we walk into simply with our authenticity. Now let's get to it. Hello, I am excited for you to listen to today's interview. It's my first ever interview that I've conducted, and it is a generator highlight. So on the podcast today, we have Dan Edwards, also known as Dano. He is a successful realtor in the Lower Mainland of British Columbia. He is a longtime friend of mine, and we discuss basically how aligned he is with his design. We discuss how his design has played out in his life, his early mornings that he has, his job, how everything happens for a reason, the role his mother played, some rapid fire, and more. It's a really fun interview. It went on way longer than I thought it was going to. It's a good learning curve for me to keep track of time next time. I think I got carried away talking to an old friend. But essentially, I think there's so much to glean from this episode, listening to Dan as he is so in tune with his sacral generator-ness and just how aligned he is naturally by trusting himself and having been on a journey to kind of learn from his own mistakes and understand who he is. It's really cool to hear about how his life lines up with his human design so that you can take away some practical understandings of what it looks like to consciously be aware of your design, but also just be in flow with yourself. Before we jump into the episode, however, I do want to issue a small correction. There's one moment in the podcast where I say that generators are not allowed to rest unless they use up their energy. It's a very quick passing comment, but if you're new to human design, I really want to be clear that that's not what I meant. What I mean is that it's difficult for generators to rest, to go to bed, whether it's bedtime or nap time, maybe for kids, if they haven't used their bountiful energy that they have in a satisfying way beforehand. You wake up as a generator with a full battery and you're meant to drain it before it's time to rest. And so Dan, being well-versed in his design, he knows what I was referring to, but I definitely don't want people who are new to human design to think like there's some weird rule about not being able to rest because you haven't worked hard enough. And the key to utilizing your energy is about feeling satisfied about it. It's not just mindlessly running laps in order to do so. You have to get that feeling of satisfaction for it to count, if you will, as energy used. I think that clarifies that. And in any case, I hope that you enjoy my first ever interview and, more importantly, getting to know Dano. I'm really excited and honored to say that today's episode is sponsored by Van Isle Hairstyle, a hair care and accessory brand that promotes healthy hair and is home to the original zipper scrunchie and silk heatless curl set. Amanda, the founder of Van Isle Hairstyle, is the epitome of a manifester in human design. She was going for a run one day and didn't have anywhere to put her keys, so she followed her manifester urge when she got home and sewed herself the zipper scrunchie, and thus Van Isle Hairstyle was born. Beyond adorable accessories like clips, claws, and scrunchies, she now creates her own shampoo and conditioner, scalp scrub, and more. Her products are paraben, sulfate, silicone, and phthalate free, cruelty free, and vegan. I swear only a manifester would decide to make her own shampoo. You guys, the scalp scrub is an absolute must, and I also love her shampoo and conditioner. My hair feels so clean and silky after, and it smells really, really good. I can't finish this ad without talking about the heatless curl set, however. This is a game changer for your hairstyle. Zero heat, and you have beautiful beachy curls that last all day. It's a regular in my routine. For Raise the Room listeners, Amanda has gifted you a 15% code to use on her website, vanislehairstyle.com. That's VANISLEHAIRSTYLE.com. Just use the code RTR15 to claim. That's RTR15. So let's raise the room with a good hair day. Thanks, Amanda. All right, Dan, I'm so excited that you're here and you agreed to come on Raise the Room with me.
Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, when you asked, it was a no-brainer. I'm sure we're going to have fun over this period of time and um, maybe entertain the masses.
I did a little intro about you already, so people have the premise. I don't know if I said in the intro because I haven't done it yet as I'm talking to you right now. But we did date in high school. We met through
That is,
family friends. We're just gonna get it out. We're gonna be transparent right from the get-go.
I like it. Set the dynamic so people know exactly where everything stands at this point on, and they'll probably be more engaged at this point. Let's be honest.
Good point. Yeah, no secrets, full
It's,
transparency. And we've remained friends. And I love your wife, and I'm hoping to have her on at some point in time too. So
oh, I'm sure she'll be freaking stoked, and she'll probably try and rub it in my face that she's going to be a better guest than me. So I'm hoping I can tee this up.
perfect. So good. Okay, well, Dan, today we're going to go over your human design, which you are well versed in because we've had a couple readings together. But before we start with that, I would love for you to just sort of tell everybody who you are in your own words, even though I've said a little thing already.
Who am I? Oh, um, I'm Dan Edwards. Dano, I prefer to go by. It says Daniel on my business card for some reason, but I'm a realtor. Uh, Father of one 3.5-year-old named Huntley. I've got my wife Holly that you mentioned. I'm a big sports guy, 49ers, Canucks. I like to work out despite getting old and now dealing with knee pain and the back pain and that kind of stuff. So essentially, despite my busy schedule, I try to fit all that in and try to be social at the same time. But as other late 30-year-olds can relate to, there's just not enough time to do everything you want to do in life. But in a nutshell, realtor, husband, father.
Yeah, I love it. And, generators, you're the ones who do pretty much get to pack in the most. So I feel like those are a lot of really good hobbies that you probably are squeezing in more than the average human.
Fair. Yeah. It's getting up early helps.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we will get to that for sure. So, Dan is what you would call a 4-6 sacral generator. And my intention today is to kind of walk through each of those pieces so that you, the listener, can understand what that means and hear Dan's sort of real life example or living of his design because I chose Dan as my generator highlight, my first generator highlight, because he is so aligned to his design. And I remember when we did our session, Dan, I was just like, the way you would explain your life, your stories, your rhythms, your behaviors, I was just like, you are explaining what the textbook says about generators. Was such a crazy match that it stuck with me. So I'm excited to kind of talk about that today. Sorry, before we get into it, I'm going to explain what a generator is for people who maybe don't know. Generators make up about 35, I think, percent of the population. And in a nutshell, our world is kind of made for you because you're good at sort of the hustle and grind culture. You're good at having a full tank of energy, especially for the things that you love. You wake up, you're ready to go, and you're meant to use your energy in satisfying ways basically until bedtime. You're not allowed to really rest unless you feel like you've done something with your day. When you're around a generator who is doing something that they love, the people feel that like you raise the energy of a room. You actually do raise the room as a generator. So it's really special when you are around a generator who's in their joy because you feel it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I remember when we were going over it the first time you were doing my human design and like everything you were saying, I was like, yeah, 100%. That's what I do. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it was like so spot on and like you're saying, kind of how I was presenting my life or how we were discussing kind of his line with that. And then since then, I've kind of, you know, not fully every day kind of think about it, but here and there I think about how like I am truly kind of living in that same kind of alignment of kind of my human design, and correlating the two has been kind of just makes you more in tuned and aware of kind of what you're doing in a day.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it brings out this awareness where you're going, oh, yeah, that is how I roll. I already knew this, but it completely validates almost how you're already doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love for you to tell the people about your mornings because this is so generator of you. And I don't think all generators do this, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, Typically every morning I'm waking up sometime between, I mean, it could be as early as 4:30, but I'm aiming typically for around 5 to 5:30. I get up, splash my face in cold water, kind of do my morning routine, brush the teeth, floss, moisturizer, go downstairs, create a fizz, read a book for a bit. I try to stretch and roll myself out. Um, and kind of get myself prepped for the day while the house is quiet. So Holly's still sleeping, Huntley's still sleeping. Um, and I can kind of, do it's so cheesy to say, but like the oxygen tank in the airplane, get myself ready before I can get set for, my family and my business and everything else like that. And it's something that I've kind of really correlated over the past, I want to say, 6 months or so, and kind of really see the benefits of kind of setting myself up for the day and being
Mhm.
productive off the start. So after I've kind of got that morning routine in, it's like pretty much into the work day and grinding. And I always say to Holly that that portion of the day, that morning day, is probably where my most creative juices are.
Mhm.
Despite kind of using my energy throughout the day, it's like mentally my creative juices are peaking there, and then physically I'm productive throughout the rest of the day, I'd say.
That's so cool that you're aware that it's almost like that's your most mentally stimulated time. So you're taking advantage of it and then it sets you up for success to kind of carry it all out the rest of the day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and essentially I guess it's like the classic lean into the strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm a big believer in like productivity or like maximizing my time and being efficient. And it's like, okay, if I know at this point in time I'm the most creative, then I need to lean into that and do
Mm-hmm.
stuff that needs kind of more creative thinking. Or, if I'm creating a website write up for a listing or something like that, and I need to maybe get more creative with writing or have that kind of mental, um, I guess, stimulation or that mental task, I'm
Mm-hmm.
better to do it at that point in time in the day.
It's also just practically such good structure for somebody who works for themselves.
Yeah, and maybe that's like the other piece of it is that
Yeah.
like getting that work in sooner than later is like, takes off that stress of like I've got to work later on, or I just
Yeah.
like, I mean, Holly will attest to it, but essentially I'm like, if I have something to do, I'm gonna try and get it done as soon as freaking possible. Like all the time. I'm trying to tear through my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's like starts at that portion of the day, and just how my life is structured as a realtor. It's, not many people want to see properties at, you know, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on a weekday. So that's where I do kind of more of that mental load. And then physically it's, showings later on in the day and that kind of stuff. When Huntley's back from preschool, it's, being active, tackling and doing whatever he wants to do and that kind of side of things, and running around and playing hide and go seek or whatever. But um, yeah, and it's has been something that I've been more in tune with, I'd say, over the past like 4 or 5 years, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
since I almost became a realtor, just shortly after kind of getting into my own rhythm.
I love that. And can you share how, when you don't do that, say you're not the first one up, what's it like
Yeah,
the rest of the day? What's your day like? Tell me.
it sucks. Like, okay, it doesn't suck obviously, but it's like you
You
feel
can
like
say it sucks.
you have to play catch up. Like I
Mhm.
I feel like I'm like, okay, shit, I didn't get this in. Like, say if I slept in. I'm like, okay, sweet. I got bonus sleep, but I
Mhm.
feel like I'm behind. I didn't set myself up for the day. And then I feel a little bit of a scramble. And then it's like, that's where the mental playing of like, okay, I got to get caught up. What am I going to do to catch up? Am
Right.
I still going to implement things of my morning routine to kind of stay on track, or am I just going to scrap it, get right to work, and be productive from that side of things? So as I'm kind of saying this, it just really kind of it reiterates the fact that it's definitely more of a scramble mode.
Yeah. It's
So
and is do you find it's mainly a mental turmoil, or are you also like behaviorally acting out? Like, are you not as
both,
nice? Are you, yeah. Yeah.
both, like, yeah, I'd say both for sure.
And it's taking the joy out of it for you, because for you, being a realtor is you being in your generator element, you kind of being lit up by it. You get joy out of so many aspects of the job, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And sorry, that's just where if getting right to work is not necessarily a bad thing, and that almost like resets me back
Mhm.
onto like the track for the day.
Yeah. That's so cool because, I mean, first of all, because we live in a society where we spend most of our time working, people think all the time about, I need to love my job. I want to love my job. I don't want my life to be spent doing something that I hate. And
Yeah.
this happens for a large part of, I mean, so many people, obviously, out of necessity. But when you're in a situation where you're a generator and so much of your energy and well being literally depends on you being able to fit in enough joy and enough things that you love into your life, when your workplace and your job isn't one of those things, it drains you, it sucks the life from you, and it kills that sort of magnetic, sparkly generator energy that they have. And so I think it's just so neat that you found something that you like and is a match for kind of how you're designed.
Yeah, like you nailed it. And in my previous work life before becoming a realtor, um I would have to be at work for 4:30 in the morning for this
Mm.
particular job. That meant like waking up at 3:30. I'd still have 10-hour days or 12-hour days, and it was just like so exhausting. And
Mm.
this was like before Holly and I got married, before Huntley came along. And like I would even come home and say to Holly, it was like, how, like, when we have a kid, am I gonna have enough energy to come home, work out,
Mm-hmm.
and still be a good dad?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, like, at that point, Holly knew I'd always wanted to become a realtor, and she's like, you should just chase the dream, like
Yeah.
go do it, like before we get married, before we have a kid, like
Mm-hmm.
now's the time. Uh, so long story short, went and got the license, did all that, obviously. And it's like I'll work a 12-hour, 14-hour day, or 10-hour day, still work out, still make time for Huntley and do all that stuff. And it's like I'm way more energized.
Yeah.
Like that stuff does not necessarily drain me. I can go have like a 6 hour sleep and still be fine for the next day to like kind of wash, rinse, repeat. I do hit a point though every 4 or 5 days where it's like I just need a nap.
Yeah.
Like I just need a solid nap because I'm starting to get grouchy, and I just
Yeah.
need like a little bit of recharge.
Yeah. You're
So
allowed. That's okay. You're
yeah,
getting old, so.
it's just like, yeah, I'm soon gonna need like a recliner with like a set nap time at like 3 o'clock, where after I've iced my knee and back, I can knock about 30 minutes of Z's to get myself back on track for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And you're drinking decaf and
Never.
never. I know. But that's such a good example because the timing of your old job didn't really change very much. How much it was asking of you doesn't sound like it was that different. I'm sure it's really different, but it doesn't sound that crazy different. And yet when you're doing something that you love as a generator, your energy refuels, it recharges, and you get more energy to just keep
Yeah,
going. It's literally Energizer Bunny vibes.
totally. It's like adding like fuel to the flame, and it's like,
Yeah.
once you're kind of in it, it's like you want to keep adding, more fuel to keep that flame going, and just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't relate as a projector. I wish I could. my flame fizzles. Like there's nothing that I could do to like keep things going for that long. I have to really, as a projector, and for anybody that's listening, if you're a projector or manifester or reflector, you have to go with the ebbs and flows. You will be like generator buzzing for a while, but eventually you'll come down. And it's hard because our society and world is much more accepting of sort of the generator trajectory and like profile in that way. But the most or like the best optimization I've gotten is leaning into the ebb and flow, is giving myself rest when I need to. And, it's not that generators don't need it. Like you said, sometimes after the fourth or fifth day, you need your nap. And it's good to know. It's just like I hit that midday
Yeah.
every day.
I was just gonna ask, like, okay, like, maybe it's like 1 day, 2 day, or like, I don't, what
Yeah.
is it like? But midday, that's crazy. And it's like, what do you do to kind of reset yourself for the rest of the day at that point?
It's really, as a parent, it's really, really hard because you just don't always I don't get to go with my rhythms, and my kids are generators like you. So it like I'm secondary in that way. And so I try as best I can to conserve, like I always joke, I'm the sideline parent. They're playing and I'm just sitting there, but it's
Coffee.
self I'm like, woo, go cheerleader. Okay. Self preservation at its finest. But, and it's something that I always used to struggle with. But now that I know that about myself, it's just like, okay, whatever. Like, I need my rest. No big
Yeah,
deal.
totally. And I think that's like the biggest benefit to the human design. And then even as like you're saying that with the kids, and it's like I'm thinking too, it's like it's nice, say, if like your partner also knows your human design and knows
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I know at this point like they need that rest,
Yeah.
this is maybe why they're acting that way, or and then can therefore make your
Yeah.
life easier to deal with. And it's almost like a way of communication without actually communicating. It's just kind of helping being more in tune.
Yeah.
And
Just a
that goes a
deeper
long way.
level of understanding for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go on to, because I think that really sort of highlights your generatorness. I want to talk about you having what's called a sacral authority. So, whenever you look up your chart online, anybody that does, you can see your authority. Authority in human design is how we best make decisions. It's basically how your intuition operates. And you, as a generator, you have a sacral authority, which means your intuition operates through your gut feelings. Sacral authority is often pretty loud and it's in the moment. So it's like when something comes your way, you can feel physically something in your body that's either a yes feeling or physically something in your body that's a no feeling. And I remember sharing this with you and you were snickering the whole time because you were just like, I know exactly what you're talking about. You knew like the feeling that you get when you're like feeling like you want to say yes to whatever it is that's in front of you, as opposed to when you don't. It, I remember you saying it felt like a very stark difference to you. Would you say that's
Totally.
true?
I'd say it's true. I'd also say I can be a tad indecisive when it
Mm.
comes to, say, like my own personal decisions, like not necessarily work related. That's easy to be decisive. But when it comes to my own personal decisions, sometimes it can be like a little bit of back and forth. But then I do know, like, if I'm really debating it, the answer is almost there, because if it's a yes, then it's like a yes right away, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
hyped about it. It's a no brainer. But if I have to stop and think about it,
Mm.
chances are it's like 90% of the time it's a no.
Yeah.
It's just for some reason I'm trying to justify why it should be a yes, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But that's where I lean into the intuition and just always remember that, at the end of the day, the guts hasn't ever steered me wrong. And for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, it's the best thing to listen to as far as,
Yeah.
when it comes to the decision. So, but sometimes you never know. You're faced with some things that can be a hard decision, or you're faced with like four different pairs of shoes to purchase, or whatever the case is, and they're kind of trying to weigh the pros and cons, but
Yeah.
it's that one that kind of caught your eye at the beginning that is like the one that you want to kind of pursue or purchase, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason you're still weighing the pros and cons.
I think that's so normal. Number one, like you're not a robot. So, yes, you may have the feeling, but we're layered, nuanced humans. It's not always clear right away. But I always say to people with sacral authority that still make the pros and cons list if you want. But at the end of the day, if you have a gut feeling that says no, even if your pros list is super long, the gut feeling is supposed to help you live in alignment with whatever is correct for you. And the same for the opposite, right? If your gut feeling's a yes, but there's a big list of cons, it's like it's still in your sphere for some reason and feels like a yes for a reason.
That's exactly it. And it's one of those things where, another cheesy quote, but it's like, if it's too good to be true, chances are that it is,
Mhm.
you know? And that's sometimes where, like, when the gut wants to have that immediate yes, like,
Yeah.
you know,
You're
to your
forcing
point,
it.
exactly, right? And like, one big thing that Holly and I have learned over, we've been together for coming up on 10 years is like, don't ever force something.
Mhm.
If you're getting signs that there's things that are like, it's just not working or it's harder to do, and it's just like you're hitting the stump wall and like all those kinds of things, it's not to say quit. Don't
Mhm.
ever quit. But at the same time, it's like, don't force something because it might be not what you're destined to do or supposed
Yeah.
to do. And like, that's like truly listening to your gut. Like, why am I hitting
Mhm.
all these things? Like, what
Mhm.
is supposed to happen? And trying to be in tune with that kind of, you know, living, where some people will put their heads down and try to barrel through. And that can never, sometimes it'll work out, but sometimes it's not going to necessarily be in your best interest.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we've definitely all done that in our lives, right? Like we've all
it's,
had that experience.
yeah, I say
Yeah.
it because we've done it and have learned the hard way, and now are like, no, if it's forcing, we know that we shouldn't be going down this route.
Yeah.
So I say it from a place of experience, but it was
Mhm.
definitely something I'd say we've learned over the past, say, 5 years versus, the first 5 years. So
Yeah. It's so interesting too because something about gut feelings is that they are loud. They are there and there for you to experience physically. And I'm always like jealous of generators for a number of reasons, but a sacral generator, especially because you are so primed to actually be spontaneous in your decision making because you kind of have to wait for things to come your way and then react to them to see whether it feels like a yes or no. And I think as a realtor, it probably serves you so well to be able to have like good in the moment instincts.
totally. And
Yeah.
like, I was just like, as you're saying all that, I'm like, it should, I'm like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Adaptability is
Yeah.
essentially one of the biggest things that I say is like one of my strengths, but I guess it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense in the human design. And that's where you can kind of roll with the punches. You can kind of be spontaneous. And it's like, as a real estate agent, it's like, sometimes it's like you'll think you have a free day and it's, you got a client who wants to write an offer, or you've got to go do showings, or someone wants to see a property, or something pops up, or whatever the case may be. And you've just got to adjust on the fly and make it happen. And
Yeah.
as I mentioned before, I'm one of those guys that's like, if I have something to do, I want to get it done ASAP. And I want to make sure that it's done right. And it's like, so all of a sudden now I have something on the list. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
and tackling that. But obviously, also kind of trying to adapt throughout the day of trying to balance everything else.
Yeah. This is like a total sidetrack, but as you're talking, like, what is the craziest thing or like experience you've ever had with clients? And like, please, I mean, I'm not trying to get you in trouble here. What's the story you have teed up? Do you have one?
Crazy. I've dealt with a lot of crazy different experiences. I've had lots of really good clients. Like, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
had any kind of disastrous clients where I've got like horror stories or anything like that. But I do have like a good handful of like, holy shit,
Yeah.
like stories. I'll give you one that I've got teed up off the bat that comes to
Okay.
mind. It's
Yeah.
it's a good one. So me and a good friend of mine and his girlfriend, they're looking to buy a townhouse in Langley. I set up the showing, and sometimes what we do is we get access to the property through lockbox. So they put a key in the lockbox. We get the key. We get to go to the house, and I show my clients the property. Sometimes the listing agent is there to show the property. If they can't make it or whatever the case may be, they'll leave the key there. So I set up the showing. Realtor tells me, hey, it's confirmed. It's on lockbox. Okay. So we go there. I grab the key. I always knock on the door, obviously, because you just never know if people are home. Typically, they leave the home 5-10 minutes at least before showing. Knock on the door, nothing. Okay, open up, and I always go, hello, hello.
Yeah.
Just, I
Triple
don't want to
checking.
get spooked by someone coming around the corner or, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, okay, let's go check out the garage first. And the garage, they had made like kind of a den space, or like it's a tandem garage, and they created a room at the back of the garage. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's go check out this room. I open the door, and what appears to be a dude looking at a computer screen, and immediate, like in a, like, I don't want to get into details about
Yeah,
it, but
we're all there though. We're with
yeah.
you.
And he essentially just, hey, oh, what's going and I'm closing the door at this point. I'm like, holy shit. And so it's my buddy, his girlfriend, and girlfriend's mom. And I I was like, sorry, we're just here for the showing. And he's like, right now? And I was like, I was like, yeah, but we can come back. Like, he's give me 5 minutes. And I was like,
5
okay.
minutes,
So,
dude.
all right. And like, or he's like, give me a couple minutes. And so we're like, okay, we'll just go upstairs. Like, we'll go check out the rest of the place, right? We go upstairs, and we're like, and at this point, it's like, I'm like, these people are not buying this property, right? I'm like, it's a good buddy of mine. I already know. I'm like, he's just like, let's get out of here, probably. We go upstairs. There's a full on like smorgasbord meal set up on the dining room table. I'm talking like wings, like everything. Like it looked like it was prepped for like a family of 8 to have dinner, but the lights are off and nobody's around, and it looks like a fresh meal. And I'm like, oh
What?
shit! Like, did we book this showing during their dinner time? Like, we could have came at a different time.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, this gets weirder by the minute. And my buddy's like, is this out for us to sample? So, anyways, we go upstairs, and I start hearing people, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm on the stairwell, and I turn down and I look at my buddies, or look at my buddy, and I was like, what do you guys think? I think there's somebody up here. And they're like, yeah, let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's just get out of
This
here.
isn't the house.
So we leave. Needless to say, realtor messaged me. He says, I'm so sorry. I told them the wrong time. They didn't know you were coming. So it's like, despite knocking,
Everything.
ringing the doorbell, yelling, but that's probably one of the craziest stories I have on deck. If you gave me some time to think about some more, I could probably give you a whole podcast.
Well, and I've got questions because like if you're entertaining and there's people at the buddies downstairs, like pardon me.
Maybe he just wanted to enjoy his meal a little bit more relaxed.
Oh my god. Like you just it's
Well,
so strange
like
because
I didn't see anything,
no,
but like it was very clear.
The sheer panic in the man's voice.
Yeah, like it was like, oh my god, and like my heart's going at that point. I'm just like, okay, we'll go upstairs, like, then we'll go see the smorgasbord. Like, what is going on in this place?
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't buy.
That is so funny, and just like it is a weird thing because you are being invited into people's homes, like their lives, and like you said, you've taken every measure for it to not be weird, and it could not have been weirder.
Yeah, and that's like, it's essentially your goal as a realtor is to avoid that awkwardness and weirdness at every single showing. And it's like, it's almost a weird thing in general, just going into other people's homes, checking them out, and all that kind of stuff. And it's not like an invasion of privacy, but you want to be respectful for people's homes. So like when you're invading on the ultimate privacy act, it's it's so.
And Dan's TikTok is so good too because he's got all these like weird things he sees at showings, TikToks, and it's genius because there is some weird stuff out there.
Yeah, mix match of like DIY specials to like, rainbow penis shaped water bottles just out on display to like you name it, it's out there in the world of real
Uh,
estate. And it's just like,
Oh my gosh.
okay.
Yeah, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
Actually, and something else you said that made me think about sort of the next part of your human design is because you are a 4-6, so a 4-6 in human design is your profile. The 4 signifies somebody who is really good at building deep relationships, very good at networking, also very aligned with your job. And the people in your life that like are in your inner circle are very important to you and give you sort of your best life opportunities. And anybody that has a 4 in their profile and has their own business, like so much of their business comes just through their personal network. It's like one of the benefits of being a fourth line in human design. And you were saying you were showing for one of your best buddies, like how many of your clients sort of started out as just like your good friends and then were sent to you people now because of your good friends?
Almost, I'd say probably about 80% of my business, if not more, is
Yeah.
referral based.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
from people who've got to know me and then refer me to their friend. And
Yes.
like we just actually, I messaged a couple of clients today just randomly their story on Instagram, or they're messaging my story. I can't remember, but I was just like, oh man, like I miss like hanging out with you guys, like
Yeah.
seeing properties. Like I had a blast with you guys. Like
Yeah.
I think I responded to the my one client's like they've got a baby and he was like talking on the thing and I was like, oh, I miss, whatever
Yeah.
his name was. I was like, oh, I miss him during the showings because like he used to fart at like all these showings that like so that's how we knew it was like a no-go. So the one place that he didn't fart in was the one they bought.
Oh my
So
gosh.
like, just like things like that, you get to like I don't know. And that's like honestly probably where I get the most satisfaction from my job. Like,
Yeah.
and it sounds like again maybe cliche or cheesy, but it's like it's not necessarily about the pay. Everybody has to work for pay, and realtors get paid very well, but it's not about that to me. It's about like
Mhm.
helping people getting through difficult purchases, difficult stressful decisions, and like when I can like you said, like build those connections and like see their smiles at the end of the process, or like get
Mhm.
them a place for a price and it's like they're stoked, and like you've gone through showings, you've got to know them and like all this kind of stuff, and you can kind of get them that like what they've been looking for, or get them a W if you've sold their place for more than they thought, or
Mhm.
anything like that, and you see how pumped they're like, that's genuinely like that's the stuff that gives me goosebumps, and like
Yeah.
that's like what I love to show up for.
That's the
And like
generator buzz.
totally. And
Yeah.
like, and it's just, I'm also a very kind of competitive guy. So it's like, I want to do the best job. And like, kind of like, as I mentioned, I was into sports, but grew up playing sports and very still have that competitive drive. And it's just where like, I want to be the best out there. And my motto is, you take care of clients, they'll take care of you. So it's like, how can I show up to be the best, realtor for you? What can I do for you? So, when you kind of click and you're streamlined and that they're really liking everything in the process. And a lot of time I get good feedback in it. I blush during those moments where I'm like, sometimes it's like hard to take good feedback, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's weird
Yeah.
for me
You
in a
get
sense.
bashful.
Totally. And like,
He's bashful right now, talking about being bashful. I can see it in the camera.
totally. And, but like, that's where like, that's what it's all about, like
Yeah.
100%. And it's like when you build those connections, it's like that's stuff that like lasts a lifetime, and like that's where I get like joy out of my job. Like you could be making good pay doing 12-hour job for a corporate company and be freaking drained, or
Hmm.
or you could be energizing yourself through what you do in a day, and it's just finding what works for each individual to do that.
Totally. Yeah. And it's so funny because even just two things you said when you were talking, first of all, as a fourth line, team sports are the jam, like, or any sort of community experience, whether like you're part of a theater company or you have some sort of little group that you have a hobby with. I mean, typically this happens with team sports, but it makes so much sense. And then also, I was thinking about how realtors, obviously it's very much a referral based situation anyways, and so people might have heard that and been like, yeah, duh, every like all realtors work through referrals, but When you're a fourth line, it is meant for it to really work in your favor. It's like it's heightened. You probably get more referrals than, say, somebody who might not have a fourth line.
Hey, whatever advantage
Yeah.
you have, I'll take.
I'll take it.
But
And
like, it's honestly, I this is again maybe the bashfulness or humbleness, and I like I almost don't want to say it because like, you
yeah,
know, I don't want to come across as like
he's a
arrogant or
good
anything like
realtor, everybody. Despite the
that.
fart example, he's a good realtor. Okay, he even though he's bringing clients farting in your houses, he's good. He's successful. I'm not talking to.
It does feel like the law of attraction works in my
Mm-hmm.
favor that
Mm-hmm.
way. I do feel it honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Sometimes I feel like it's maybe extra powers working in my favor and looking out for me and kind of
Yeah.
and to the further point, it's like when you are aligned with what you're passionate about, that's where the law of attraction starts working. And it's like I had wanted to be a realtor since I was in high school, but it took me till 30 to get there. And it took me two tries, essentially.
Let's
So
segue into that, my friend, because that's the sixth part of your
oh,
profile.
okay. Well, let's
So
mosey on over.
let's just do that nicely. So I don't have to segue by saying totally, because I've already heard myself say it and I'm gonna have to try and edit it out like 5 times.
Well, if it helps, I haven't noticed that you said totally a lot, but at the same time, I would really love to hear like a dubbed over, like different voice, like not you.
No.
Maybe get Derek to
Interesting.
say something. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
I'll work
Or
on it.
let's move on, or something, whatever. Like, yeah. Uh,
Mix it up. Okay, so the next part of your profile is you're a 4 and a 6. And the 6 is really interesting because if you have a sixth line in human design, it means you have a three-phased life: 0 to
yeah.
30, 30 to 50, and then 50 and beyond. 0 to 30 is what I was saying to you before we started the fuck around and find out phase. You have to learn through your mistakes. And so from 0 to 30, you're kind of hitting a bunch of bumps in the road, self inflicted bumps, essentially,
Yeah.
that are meant to be learning opportunities. Six lines are actually born with an innate sense of wisdom from the get go, but it's like that wisdom takes a back seat until you're 30. And then when you're 30, it kind of all comes together and you've had a bunch of experiences. You've poured a lot outwards. You kind of try your hand at a bunch of different things when you're a sixth line from 0 to 30. And then when you start closing in on 30, it's like you rein all of that in for yourself and you can actually start learning through observation, learning just by the understanding that you've built. You don't always have to like run into the fire to learn. And that's when a lot of people who have the sixth line, like their life really starts to come together, sometimes in a visible way, like, oh, they meet the person or they get the job, and sometimes more in an internal way where they're like, wow, I understand myself better than I ever had. And I'm able to not self-sabotage or be so codependent or whatever it is. And it's interesting because on your second try, you became a realtor around 30, but you had already had a bump in the road with it earlier on. And I'd love for the listeners to hear about that.
Yeah. First off, I want to say when you said 50 and beyond, I straight up went to Buzz Lightyear and was like, 50 and beyond. Maybe that's what you turn into at 50. I'm hoping so. But from 0 to 30, like you nailed it with the fuck around and find out. Like if there was ever that, I did. And you know, you learn so much about yourself during that time. You may not be knowing it, but when I was 19, or even before that, I had always wanted to become a realtor. I don't know why. I was obsessed with houses. I liked looking at houses when I'd go for drives with my parents. We'd point out specific houses. When I got older, I'd go for with drives with my buddies. We'd check out like areas with mansions and like all this different kind of stuff and just was obsessed with it. And so when I was about 19, I was like, I'm going to get my real estate license. Like, I think it's time, whatever. I'm halfway through the process, and everything I'm hearing is like nobody's gonna buy a house from a 19-year-old. Like, like oh, nobody, don't waste your time with that. Like, it's all commission based. You think you're going to make the money? Are you going to be able to afford the desk fees? Like, all those kind of stuff. And when you're 19, you're thinking, like, oh shit, okay, like, I guess maybe not. Like, people who have more experience in this life are telling me, like, this is not going to happen for you, dude. Like,
Mm,
and at the time, I was also in a job where I thought I was making good money. It was like 35,000 a year. And I was like, you know what, maybe I don't need to go into real estate and like I can grow a career here or whatever. And I was working graveyard shift.
yeah.
So on and off. So life gets better. But I I stopped the course, you know, and I continued to work at grocery stores, went to BCIT, took marketing and sales, ended up becoming a sales rep for a food company by when I was about 26, 25. And just around that time is when I was about 26, I met Holly and we started dating. But also at that time, I lived in a house with two of my buddies and it was very much a party house and like all that kind of stuff. And uh, after we lived there for about a year. And then Holly and I bought a condo and moved out, lived together. And after about a year or two of that, and I was working in the management job, waking up at 3:30, 4:30, coming home, saying to her, like, I'd beat, like, I can't even work out. How am I going to be a dad? And that's when she was like, you should go and be a realtor and like go for the course and do all that kind of stuff. And my good buddy, his brother-in-law was a realtor and he was like, yeah, man, if you want, like, I'll connect you guys.
Mm,
He's like super successful. He like crushes it from what I know. Like, and he's good at marketing. Apparently they're good in the industry. So like, I can always connect you with him. And I was like, okay, you know what? Like, frick, let's do this. My wife's supporting me. I feel like this is like where I should be going. I've been kicking myself in the freaking ass
mm,
since I was 19. Every realtor I'd run into before then, I'd be jealous of because I'm like, that should be me.
mm,
Um, I just pursued it, but that was at 30. And
yeah.
honestly, now I'm 30 or turning 37. I don't want to, outdate myself. I still got about 2, 3 months here as a 36-year-old. But I look back at my 30s and it's like that's when everything just started falling into place. Got married, had a kid, career took off, feel aligned in the career,
Mm,
moving from a condo to a townhouse, moving from a townhouse to a house, like just bigger all the big things that when I was growing up thought I would happen in my 20s happened in my 30s. So
mhm,
it's like, and when I hear people like my sister in law or like a good friend on the team who's a little bit younger or all these people be like so concerned about like where they are in life and like I should be like here, I should be there. I'm like, you got your whole 20s to fuck around. Like figure it out and then just like when you have something cocked and loaded that you're passionate about, go for it,
mhm,
but like figure out what that is and like what that looks like, because I'm a true believer that everything happens for a reason. I was told at 19, hey, you're not going to be able to buy real estate. And for whatever reason, I was like, you're right. Like I
mhm.
look at myself, I'm like, shit, should I have changed my mind? I should have fought that back or whatever. But everything happens for a reason. And, taking marketing and sales at BCIT happened for a reason. Getting sales experience, getting management experience, all those things I leverage in my career now to the best ability. And maybe I couldn't have been the same realtor I am today that I would have been at 19. And that's where, you know, things just kind of, I'm a true believer in things happen for a reason. And that's where the fucking around kind of leads to finding out in your 30s.
That is so good. I love that story. And also, I don't know if you clued in, but the fact that your roommate's, was it brother-in-law, like helped you out?
Yeah. My best friend's brother-in-law.
Right.
So
So, fourth line connection. There it is right there when your best friend's bringing in sort of like a mentor.
didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Honest, didn't
Yeah.
even realize it. Yeah, and since then, that mentor's been like, I always joke like he's my Miyagi. He's like my real estate Miyagi, and I'm like the Karate Kid. Like he's guided me through everything, and like, and because of that, like I'm super loyal to that,
Hmm.
and when you talk about before, you had mentioned like team environment is very much what we
Fourth
thrive in
line.
the
Yeah.
generator. It's like, well, I'm on a real estate team. Shameless plug at the McNabs. Follow us on Instagram. But it's like that's where I thrive because I
Yeah.
like to shoot ideas back and forth. It also helps kind of just brainstorm and working in a team environment. Just that's where I get the energy.
So cool. You also have in human design, this is really specific, but I remember you have the channel of transmission, which is also called the channel of the salesman. So like just
Oh, the
another,
salesman, though, like,
it is known that's the slang, and I have it too, so don't worry. But like I remember just being like, no way he has this channel because you're so good at presenting information and like not in a gross like car salesman way, don't worry, but it definitely, I can see that. So a channel in human design is like a gift. I can see that gift in you, especially when you're doing the things that you love, like real estate, right?
yeah. And I've even had like friends or even Holly say like, "Oh, like just a salesman," eh? And it's like I've just been just talking. Like I don't even realize that I'm either pitching an idea or like, "Hey, we should go to this place because of this reason," or like, "Hey, we should do this because of this," or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it's like they'll be like, "Oh my god!" And now I'm negotiating with Huntley all the freaking time. I'm like creating a little freaking monster because he's like negotiating Fruit Loops over Cheerios and Cheerios with milk or without milk, and he's a tough bargain, and I'm
So
a softie when it comes to him. So I lose that negotiation 9 times out of 10.
so good. That's so good. And actually, even though we're saying this now, I'm thinking back to when we were teenagers. I felt like you were even pitching all of the things that you liked. Like it was like, hey, this song, this, like I like this brand, I like whatever. Like you were constantly trying to connect your people with your things.
I would like burn CDs for Mini Me, who is like, if for the people and listeners who don't know, my best friend was my neighbor growing up. I've known him since he was pretty much born. And he's 5 years younger than me, and we'd be playing out front. My mom nicknamed him Mini. He's like, it's like a mini you, it's like a mini me, and it's like stuck with him for now like 25 years. That like when I introduce him to my buddies, it's Mini Me, and people don't even know his real name. So it's like,
Yes. And Mini
uh,
Me probably had to like all your stuff in order for you to,
well,
yeah.
that's it. So like I burn CDs, like here you go, and like yeah, and now he brings it up and chirps me about some of the songs I put on there and whatever. But I was trying to push 99 red balloons on him, thinking, hey, this is a good song. You should be pumping this song over next door.
So good. And it's so nice because you guys are still best friends today. So that's really, it's cool.
Yeah,
Um, can I ask about your mom and how she always like helped you with the real estate thing?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
100%.
I remember some story about your mom putting something on the fridge.
Yeah, yeah. So she was always like encouraging me. Like I used to, in my later teens, maybe a little bit of a shit disturber. So she was always trying to steer me in the right direction. And when she saw like that passion behind real estate, she was like, "Yeah, chase this." Like, and she was always a good motivator. And even throughout growing up in sports, she was always very supportive of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what she did was she took a real estate ad from the newspaper, cut out a picture of my face, put it on the realtor's body, and put that ad up on our fridge. And it's like,
Yeah.
and now Holly makes fun of me because I put quotes up around our house all the
Yeah.
freaking time and stuff, just as like, affirmations or things for motivation. But she put it up on the fridge to help motivate me. And, I look back on that point in time, and like I said before, everything happens for a reason. I maybe I didn't get the real estate license there, but that ad and that vision of that ad is so like clear to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can take myself back to that moment in time and seeing that ad for the very first time. And it's like, it's giving me goosebumps even just thinking about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's a big driving force of like my motivation of like, I think my mom knew at that point in time that like, that was like, I was destined to do that. Like, that was my
Yeah.
dream. That's where she saw maybe that passion and that happiness, and wanted to motivate me to get there. Unfortunately, my mom never saw me become a realtor, but that's where, every day it's just like I aim to make her proud. Like
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm living the dream, and sometimes we take advantage of the positions that we're in, or we forget about like the days where I'd be like, I wish I was a realtor. Like, oh my, I'd give anything to do that. Like, and it's just I stop and I like to reflect sometimes and like think about those moments where it's like wow, like I am here,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I am grateful for my mom doing things like that. And even if she's not, present or physically here now, it's like she's still the driving force. She's still the motivator. And, as spiritual as it is, it's like, I do believe that maybe Holly was sent to me at that point in time to help kind of give me that extra push to chase that dream. And then I do feel like a constant support from a greater existence, as far as like whenever I'm maybe doubting something, or whatever the case may be, like she or whatever is looking out for me and is like, no, you are definitely
Mm-hmm.
on the right track, keep going. I was a mama's boy and always wanting to make your mom happy or proud, and it's like that is the biggest driving force into continuing to grow to be better human too, not just a
Mm-hmm.
better realtor, right? You can get caught up in things like that and where work can suck up most of your days. And it's what she also provided in that example of putting in the newspaper was like how to be a good parent, how to be a good mom. Like when you see something in your kid that they're passionate about, like how to properly channel and motivate it. And, whether she knows it or not, it's resonated me for like all these years and will continue to push me. So, when I'm have moments with Huntley, it's like I'm trying to think about how can I leave marks like that for him, so that way, like even when I'm not physically here, because we never know when our time's done, that he knows that like my hands on his back and I'm
Mm-hmm.
supporting him through whatever journey he ends up going down in life. Um, and essentially, it's just like you said, the connections of the people around you is kind of what forces you to be that light in the room, or that,
Mm-hmm.
that aligned with the generator kind of human
Buzz.
design. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you're listening and you don't have goosebumps, like I can't relate. um, Mama J is definitely here and she's with you and she knows all the things. Like it's so special. And actually, literally knowing you since you were 8 years old, you were a mama's boy. I can confirm. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Very fair. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Just
it was actually so special to witness because I can even think about it now. Like it wasn't mama's boy in a disrespectful way. Like I really feel like you guys had such a cute, playful relationship. She thought, the sun shone out your butt and you were her little light and you guys joked around a lot together and it was just like kind of like a mutual friendship from the get-go. And again, that's something to do with your fourth line. Fourth line kids do well with their parents when they have sort of a friendship type relationship with them. I'm a fourth line as well. And I'm like that with both my parents. And that's how I feel most comfortable, like inside jokes and just sort of that friendly relationship. And it's so special that that kinship that you two had from early on translated into such a gift that kind of lives on beyond her being here and that she believed in you. Like, I think this podcast, we talk a lot about parenting, and what a beautiful example of her giving you confidence
totally.
and just being that support that, like, hey, I know you can, you will. Here it is. Look, you're this guy on the fridge.
Totally. And like, and as clear as you said it right there, it's like never really kind of like resonated with me that clearly,
No,
if that makes sense.
hindsight's
And
2020. Like it couldn't, right?
totally. And
Yes.
to share a side funny story. Well, I thought it was kind of funny, but to give a little shine a little light on the relationship between my mom and myself, I was telling Holly and Holly's grandma, my grandma-in-law, she lives with us as well.
So
Um,
cute. She's so cute.
she's adorable.
Yeah.
We love Gigi, and so I was telling them, I was like, yeah, like my mom and her friend would go for walks, and like my bedroom window growing up faced the street, and like when they'd meet up, I'd moon them out the window, and they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I would just stick my butt against the glass, and they're like, how old were you? And I was like, I don't know, like 12, like maybe 8 to 12, like I don't know, like it was like it wasn't just like I did it at one age. Like I continued to like moon them on occasion when I felt like it was appropriate, or like, and like obviously I'd get the oh my god Daniel, or like like the reaction, but like maybe I did it because I thought they also laughed and like whatever, just like I don't know. But I told Holly and Gigi that story the other day. They were looking at me like, "What the hell went on in that household? You're mooning your mom?" Like, yeah, it was funny.
Oh my god, I'm dying. Also because I know your mom's friend that she would walk with. So, and they would, I know they would both think that's hysterical. Oh my god, I'm crying. It's so funny. But it's funny because that was the vibe. Like, not that it was that crass all the time, but just like it was playful and it was fun. Like, I remember when I used to go visit, like, we'd hang out with your mom a lot. Like,
Totally.
you're teenagers in their house, so there's
Yeah.
no other place to be. But like, it was never like a burden to be around Jan. She was just like such a special, um joyful, funny person, and she'd always like make jokes about herself. And definitely, that sense of humor of yours came from somewhere. So
Yeah. Didn't
I
come from my dad, I'll tell you that. But she was definitely very much that way of like easy to be in the presence and
yeah.
like yeah, just always dealt with like I guess what I thought was my bullshit or my antics, but just like my joking around and like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think I think
Pretty
she probably
special.
really enjoyed it.
She did. Like, she thought you were so funny. That's so hilarious. I'm gonna tell my dad that mooning story. Oh, he'll probably listen, but he's like the ultimate mooner, still is. Like, literally. I remember I was 6, so he was what, in his 30s, like mooning his 80-year-old grandma as they're driving
Yes.
away from our house.
Yes.
It's like, Dad,
Yo,
come on. So
it's
yeah,
funny,
I
but
know. So good. Nothing honestly like puts people in a better mood than a laugh like that. Like, what a clearing. That's hilarious.
speaking of your dad, every time the two-handed handshake, I every time I do it, I think Dino every
Yeah.
time. And like I don't know if we just did a video called the Realtor Workout, and we did like an exercise called firm handshakes, and it was like with two hands, and every time it was Dino.
Dino.
Yeah,
Him and my dad had a joke about that. Backstory, my dad always told him you had to do like the double handshake. Is that what it was?
yeah, the
Yeah.
double hander. You put the one hand in, but you give a nice little support with the second hand.
Right.
It's comforting. It's showing people I'm here to support you. I'm friendly. We're essentially hand hugging.
I should do that. I have really small hands. So no matter what, like, my handshake is pathetic, like always, because people are shocked at how small my hands are, number one. And then I'm like trying just too hard to make it firm, and it's probably not anyways. So I should double it.
You're like, hey, I'm still COVID. I don't
Yeah.
handshake anymore.
Do you have
Like,
sanitizer? No, none of that. Okay. I'm trying to be mindful of time. I haven't been mindful of time, I should say. So I
yeah,
think
no,
what we'll
fair.
do, I feel like I've covered all of the things that I had wrote down about your chart and then some. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, but I also want to finish on sort of a rapid fire this or that, and then maybe just a couple quick questions at the end if you're cool with that.
Ooh, I like a little rapid
This is
fire.
where we're going to give your gut instinct a workout.
Okay,
Okay?
well,
Get that sacral ready.
let's hear it.
Okay, loosening my shoulders. Let's go. All right. Mountains or beach?
Beach,
Cats or dogs?
dogs,
Pizza or tacos? Both can be vegan. I know you're vegan.
pizza,
Okay. Coffee or tea?
coffee all day.
I mean, like, I wrote that one and I was like, I already know the answer. Okay, then side, is it hot coffee or iced coffee?
Hot coffee. I do
Okay.
treat myself to the ice though. Here,
Yeah.
once in a while.
Afternoon in the summer, nothing better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the coffee.
that
That's
is.
when to have it. You need the morning time hot. That's when the
Yeah.
caffeine hits you the hardest.
Yes. Yeah. Right to the veins for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Oh, what did I write here? What's my, oh yeah. Do you like to attend a party or host a party?
Ooh.
And I'm not talking Holly
Host, I
does all the, well, no, I'm not saying Holly does all the work and then you get to show up. I'm saying you're hosting full
okay,
bore.
probably attend. Probably attend a party that Holly's maybe hosted at my own home.
I love it. She's a manifesting generator, so she covers all the bases. I'm sure she's a great host.
Oh yeah,
Okay. Are you okay with sharing food or not sharing food?
I'll share food all day.
Yeah. Okay. Android or iPhone?
iPhone all day.
I know. We're old millennials, so we're all iPhoners.
Yeah, totally. I need to see the blue message. I just
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, the last few aren't this or that, but they're just general questions. What is currently on your nightstand?
my Kindle,
I feel
a
wrong asking that after our weird encounter story.
yeah, like, what is in the nightstand
Yeah.
drawer? Uh, what else you got in your bedroom?
Yeah.
No,
Jeez. Kindle?
it's gonna sound bad what's on there, but it's like I actually cleaned off the plates that I ate food off last night, but there's a bottle of moisturizer for like
Yep, naturally.
massaging Holly's feet
Okay,
because she's
enough,
been do
enough.
that. Uh, a Robin toy figurine from Batman and Robin that I think Huntley got me from the grocery store, or him and Holly brought it for me, and so that's on there.
Yeah,
And my Kindle.
and your Kindle. So you're an ebook reader.
Yes, and I've been pounding through books and
Yeah,
switching to a Kindle.
nice. Okay, last two are like a little bit more serious,
Okay.
but not too bad. What's something that like daily you're craving, like you're thinking about attaining, you're wanting, it's on your mind?
I really want to have a tropical property in a tropical spot to either
Mm,
Airbnb, but also have as a family spot that
cool.
on Boxing Day we can go down for 2 weeks, spend vacation time there. But like, I would really, I don't know when it'll happen, but that's something that I'm like, I really want that. Like, I
That's
really
so
want to
cool.
have a family cabin would be nice, but at the same time, it's like I want that mountains or beach. I want
Yeah.
that beach, and I want
Yeah.
that tropical beach. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's like I can only go there once a year or whatever the case may be. But that's probably something that's like on my mind on the daily,
I
I'd say,
love that. Okay, law of
amongst
attraction.
millions.
Pull it
Yeah,
in. Pull it in, man. That's so good.
totally.
Okay, last question. I want to hear one hope for you for the future aside from a vacation home. What's something that you're hopeful for?
Just as much family time as I can get. As much as I love what I do for a living as being a realtor, I love my family time
Yeah.
so much, man. Like, it's my one hope is that I can be in a spot where I'm financially stable and comfortable enough that I don't have to work a whole ton and still provide opportunity for my son and future kids, if there are any, and for my wife to explore, and for us to kind of explore any kind of avenues that we want to, as far as like, if the kids want to try something, I want to make sure that they can go ahead and try whatever they want to go ahead and try.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially my one hope is to get to a point where I have assets paying for passive income.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it feels like it's such a distant thing to have, but it's like, if I could work my way to one thing, it would be to have kind of assets paying for passive income to alleviate the need to spend time working and spending that time with family where I get my true
Yeah.
joy and from.
Some freedom.
Yeah, totally. That's it. And I think that's we as humans, it's what we all want. It's probably a little freedom.
Agreed. Well, Dan, thank you so much. I love all aspects of your story. I mean, I know it well, so I was leading the witness with my questions, but
To
but
predict the answers.
yeah. But I really appreciate you sharing, and I think it's really insightful for people to hear just an example of somebody who, not because you forced it, but just naturally trusted yourself enough to live in a way that is really aligned for you and your energetic makeup. And because of that, I want people to know where they can find you. And I want you to plug or say anything else that you feel you need to say.
Okay, I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for having me on and, giving me the time to kind of share a little bit of my life and how kind of generators operate. You can find me on Instagram at Dan William Edwards, TikTok at Dano Edwards. Email is Dano at the McNabs. Uh,
MAC.
macnabs.com. Please, if anybody ever has questions about real estate, don't ever hesitate to text me, message me, email me, fax me, page me, whatever you want to do to get a hold of me. I'm always just happy to help people out. That's why I've got into it. And further, another shameless plug, if you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell real estate, if you refer them to me and they successfully buy or sell, I'll give you $500.
Spoken like a true salesman. You've got to. That's so good.
Well, yeah. Holly's always like, I hate to be like salesy or like ask people for the business. Like sometimes you just slide into conversations that you're a realtor with, like out even like it feeling weird. She's like, I just can't do that. Like go around and like tell people like, hey, buy this or so, like, and I'm just like, it's not awkward if you. It's not
has
awkward
her
if you don't
own
make it.
gifts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
She
exactly.
has her own gifts, her own way of delivering information that makes people stop and listen, for sure.
Totally. Well, hopefully when you have her on, maybe people can see how
Yeah, we can get the other side of the story, we can get the Holly version of what's going down over there.
She'll be like, I don't know what happened since that podcast you guys did, but he's been mooning me and Gigi ever since.
I encouraged.
Yeah,
totally. I encouraged you way too much.
I'm like, okay, so if Dino's doing it when he's like 50, then it's like socially acceptable for people to do. Okay, I'll pick back up mooning.
You did a monster. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, Holly and Huntley. Like, my apologies. Gigi, I'm real sorry. Okay. So funny. Okay, well, Dan, for everything that you do and all that you are, thank you for raising the room. Bye. Thank you so much for spending your precious time here with me today. If you'd like more, please follow along at raise.the.room on both Instagram and TikTok. Or you can go to my website, danicamarie.com. That's Danica with a C. Here you can book a human design session with me for you or your child, or you can get one of my human design parenting courses that helps you understand your child's human design type. They're designed to help you work with the child you have instead of against them. And finally, if you're still here, this would be the point where I'd ask you to rate and review the podcast, except just saying it out loud makes me want to die. So instead, I'll say, please share with a friend. I'd really appreciate it. And finally, let's always remember that with all that you have to offer, you will always raise the room. Can't wait to chat soon. Bye.